Good morning, and welcome to this Sunday service of the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We're located here in Durham, North Carolina, and we're on the ancestral lands of the Eno, Shakori, Saponi, Sissipaha, and Lumbee people. Their descendants live here and in surrounding communities today. I'm Reverend Deborah Cayer, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, and whatever your race, your gender, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, welcome. We're so glad you're here this morning. If you're new to this community, especially if you're visiting with us for the first time, please introduce yourself in the chat box so that we can give you a warm ERUUF welcome. And you'll find a link there in the chat that you can click on, and that'll help you find some more information about us. We also invite you to the Inquirers class on Sunday mornings by Zoom at 9:30. That's online. The link for the class can be found in the events section near the bottom of our homepage on our website, or in our weekly e-news. You can sign up for that. This Saturday, we are having a full-length retreat day, and you can take all the classes at once, or you can just pop in and out throughout the day for any of the classes that you might need. At ERUUF, we so love our kids, and we have some wonderful classes for them this year at 9:30 on Sunday morning. These classes are in person, outdoors, masked, distanced. So check out our offerings for our kids on our website, or contact our religious educator, Julia Tyler. So adults are meeting for Sunday services and classes and groups and programs right now, mostly online or outside in person, while the threat from Delta is so high. Again, check our website or the Friday e-news to find out about all the things that are going on, including adult classes on Sunday morning at 9:30. You can drop off your kids at their classes, and you can scoot over and learn about Unitarian Universalism from a lot of different angles on Sunday morning at 9:30. After the service, our worship associates are hosting an online sermon service discussion. This begins at 12:15 for anyone who might like to reflect and respond to the sermon with other people. So you can find that link on our homepage under events. It's also in e-news, and it'll appear on your screen at the end of the service. So here's some really good news. Next Saturday, the 23rd at 4:30 on Saturday, we are going to have an outdoor, in-person pet blessing here on campus. Pets must either be on a short leash or in a carrier. People must be masked and must stay at a distance so that we can sing together and hear some thoughts about pets and spirituality, and some brief reflections from members about their pets. And then we are going to have a procession, a parade of pets, and we're going to keep the dogs and the cats and small animals separate. We'll go in separate directions, no trauma to the animals. It's going to be fun and festive and joyful. So whether you've got a pet, whether or not you want to bring your pet, all are welcome. Just bring yourself a chair, because you might want to sit. This will be about 30 minutes. It's for all ages. 4:30 next Saturday. See e-news and the website for more information. I want to update you on 2,500 Hours of Love. That's our big project on racial equity and inclusion this fall. So we had a little math accident last week, and we reported the wrong total. But as of this week, the correct number of hours pledged is 1,795. Woohoo! So that means that we're looking for just another 750 hours that are pledged, and we will meet our goal. We can go beyond our goal, but just 750 more hours of pledges, that'd be amazing. It's already amazing. It's incredible, and even more incredibly, 223.5 hours have already been completed. This is awesome. It's amazing. So let's just keep going. Let's see how far we can take this. So coming back to this time in this space, I will be leading this service this morning with Cheryl Fenner Brown, who was our worship associate this morning. Kate Lewis is our pianist. And there's other music by various people whose names will appear on your screen. Michelle Sager and Daniel Trollinger are this morning's tech team, and Scott Gaskins is on the sound deck. And so let's just take a breath. And let's center ourselves. And we continue our service with the prelude. Our opening words are by Marta Valentin. She says, "We come together today to honor the universal community of seekers to which we all belong.
We gather together today to share from our deepest place of safety, that we might nurture ourselves by celebrating one another.
We call into our presence this hour our ancestors, whose labor and love and commitment made it possible for us to be here now.
Let us call one another to the table of abundance, that we may feed from those fruits that sustain us and ever ask us to grow. Let us open to this moment with hearts that have no borders.
May the light of this chalice give light and warmth to our community when we are joyful and when we are in despair. And may we feel the warmth spread from our circle to wider and wider circles until all know that they truly belong. Our first hymn this morning is "The Sun Shines on Everyone." Joan Tillman will lead us, and the words will appear on your screen. You can sing along.
Oh, the sun, oh, it shines on everyone. Oh, the sun, oh, it shines on everyone. We say peace to all, life to all. We say love, 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 love everyone, love everyone. When it rains, yes, it rains on everyone. love, love everyone, love everyone. So we pray, yes, we pray for everyone. So we pray, yes, we pray for everyone. We say peace to all, life to all. We say love, 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 love everyone. We say love, 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 love everyone. We say love, 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 love everyone, love everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Flynn McSherry, and I'd like to share why I chose to pledge 50 hours to the 2,500 Hours of Love campaign. My pledge is absolutely meant to honor Reverend Deb and her many, many hours working for racial equity and justice over her 25 years of ministry. Deb, you're amazing. My pledge is also a very personal memorial tribute to the tragic deaths last year of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, and sadly the many others before and after them. After the death of George Floyd, I started on a long emotional journey. It was a journey of learning more deeply about systemic racism, of self-introspection about the white privilege I grew up with, and of attempts to be an authentic ally. I watched the protest marches along with many, read books on racism. I started a journal of my reflections about systemic racism, and I did my own 30-day racial equity challenge. I researched and grappled with my personal family history regarding slavery, and I had conversations with family members about racism. I supported several justice initiatives, and I participated in ERUUF's interracial dialogue sessions, which were amazing. It was an intense period, and I eventually realized I needed to slow down, breathe a little bit more, and to pace myself. All of that journey is intertwined in my pledge for the 2,500 Hours of Love project. Looking at the scheduled events calendar and the organizations and projects pages on the 2,500 Hours website, I get excited seeing the many different ways to get involved in racial equity and justice work in our local community. If you haven't already done so, I invite you to join me and make your pledge toward 2,500 Hours of Love today.
Oh, that just warms my heart. Thank you, Flynn, and thank you to so many who are leaning in on this project. I have this just beautiful sense of how it's bringing us together and uniting us behind one of our really important goals and long-range plans. Thank you. Long-range plan to end systemic racism. We're all in on that. So I want to turn a little bit and turn back to the present moment that we're finding ourselves in. So this fall, your ministers and staff have heard from so many of you that you are feeling absolutely joyless and absolutely aimless, that you are just done and your tank has long been empty. to the point that now some of us are physically and emotionally exhausted and feeling really, really isolated and detached and disconnected. And everything just feels like it's just too much to push through. We hear you. We're all feeling this. Back in April, Adam Grant wrote this in the New York Times. He said, "At first, I didn't recognize the symptoms that we all had in common. Friends mentioned that they were having trouble concentrating. Colleagues reported that even with vaccines on the horizons, they weren't all that excited. And instead of bouncing out of bed at 6 a.m., I was lying there until 7 playing words with friends. It wasn't burnout. We still had energy. It wasn't depression. We didn't feel hopeless. We just felt somewhat joyless and aimless. It turns out there's a name for this: languishing. Languishing is a sense of stagnation and emptiness. It feels as though you're muddling through your days, looking at your life through a foggy windshield, and it might be the dominant emotion of 2021. Adam Grant. Sound familiar? We were all so disheartened last summer when we found out that we had to go back to safety precautions while the Delta variant was spreading. It just didn't make sense, and people everywhere were really confused and really angry. And while many of us certainly don't want to go back entirely to the way things were before COVID, none of us ever want to go back to the isolation and restriction of the past 18 months. We want to feel normal. We want to get out from behind our screens and put on real pants and go outside and not fear getting deathly ill. The trouble is, when you're languishing, you just don't care that you don't have the energy. Personally, some days I've got brain fog that will not lift very far off of the horizon. I know I'm not depressed, I'm just sleeping more, and I've just figured out that the sequences of things just take much longer. I'm just not good at sequencing. It's hard to get traction on anything. Everything that I've read about languishing describes what's going on for me. I'm not lazy or depressed or incompetent. I'm just affected by this along with everybody else. The trouble with this state of weariness is that it just creeps in so slowly. It creeps up on you and you just don't even notice. And the longer it goes on, you just start to not even care. Indifferent to indifference is how one researcher puts it. It becomes difficult to concentrate, which is a problem because our attention is the very thing that draws us in and gets us to focus and engage. In fact, engagement and heightened attention are the hallmarks of a positive, healthy sense of well-being, and also it's the root of what it means to find our excellence. It's what enables us to find our excellence, really. But languish leads in exactly the opposite direction from health, opposite direction from well-being, and it certainly doesn't lead to excellence. The good news is that we can help ourselves and that the process doesn't have to involve any great shocks to our system. We don't need to jump into frigid water first thing in the morning. We don't need to go on a long hike with rocks in our backpack. Researchers have found that a really good way to begin is simply to pay attention. Just find one thing and focus on it and let that lead you. Let that lead you deeper into engagement with your life. Cheryl Fenner Brown is a yoga instructor, and part of her work involves guided meditation. Cheryl's going to lead us in a meditation now that will help us rest and become more restored to our true selves. Good morning.
Thank you. As Deb said, I would like to share with you a guided meditation that is based on the Buddhist concept of mudita, or appreciative joy. And I invite you to find a comfortable place to sit, get your hands free, find your feet down on the floor, and take a moment to close the eyes. And we're going to begin by getting in touch with our bodies in this moment. So as you hear me name different parts of the physical body, there's a few things that you can do to try to stay connected to yourself. One would be to repeat the name of the part to yourself after I say it. Another, and even more importantly, is to try to feel that part of your body. So we're going to begin in the center of the chest. Feel the center of your chest. Feel the right side of your chest, the left side, the right collarbone, the left collarbone, the right rib cage, the left rib cage. Feel your sternum, your abdomen, your navel. Notice your pelvis and your entire spine. Feel your right shoulder blade and your left shoulder blade. Feel your whole torso. And come back to the feeling in the very center of your chest. We call this the energetic heart center. As you notice your chest, feel yourself breathing in this moment. Where in your torso do you notice that the breath creates movement? There's no need to change your breath. It is perfect just as it is. Can you only observe what happens naturally? How does it feel to pull your breath into your body? There is an inherent sense of activity for inhaling. You might notice a sense of fulfillment or potential, a gentle lifting and expansion around your heart center, as if the breath could originate in the heart center and expand outwards in all directions. And when you exhale, simply relax. Allowing your breath to continue now without too much focus, we're going to explore this concept of mudita. It is called appreciative joy and comes from the Buddhism Four Immeasurables. With eyes closed, imagine that you are standing in front of a table with a large book upon the surface. Allow the space to take shape in your mind. What does the table look like? Are there other objects in the room that you can notice? The book on the table represents all of your experiences so far. As you approach the table, what do you notice about your book? What does the cover look like? Is there a symbol on the cover? Open the book to the present moment. How is this moment right now presented on the page? Are there drawings, images, or text? Using this memory book as a guide, we are going to take a journey into joyful memories. Notice the number of pages that precede the open page. Do they seem worn and ragged, as if they had much use? Or are they new and crisp? Allow your mind to travel back to a time when you felt intense joy. Is it a memory from childhood or from a more recent time? It does not have to be the most joyful experience in your life, and please don't judge the memories that arise. Allow your mind to settle on one memory and imagine opening your book to that page. Where are you? Who are you with? Did you recognize this experience as intensely joyful when you were in that moment? Is it a memory you often return to when you compare your current joy to your past joys? Then allow your mind to wander through the pages of your memory, seeking out another moment of joy. Perhaps a holiday or a wedding or a moment on vacation. Immerse yourself in this new memory. Do you remember what it felt like to be in that moment? How far back in your book of memories did you go to find this new memory? While you lived that experience, did you realize it would bring you joy later in life? Let's call up one more memory from our book, something that is a small, temporary, everyday moment of joy. A simple situation that made you smile. Maybe it was hearing your favorite song, seeing a beloved friend after a long separation, spending time doing something that you enjoy. How did you help to cultivate that everyday moment? Notice if you feel like you're grasping at those joyful moments. But while holding that feeling of everyday joy in your mind and your heart, contemplate the following statements of mudita. May I be happy. May my happiness continue. May my happiness increase. May I be present for my joy. May I appreciate the joy in my life. When we are aware of our own joy, we can more fully wish joy to other people as well. Allow that joy to fill your heart and your mind. Imagine being so full of joy that it overflows into everyone that you come across. Bringing a friend or family member, mentor, or other valued person, or even a pet into your mind. Notice your natural desire for them to also experience joy. Without worrying about exactly how this person experiences joy, instead focus on their experience of joy. And contemplate the following statements of mudita. May you be happy. May your happiness continue. May your happiness increase. May you appreciate your joy. I am so happy for you. Just observe what this brings up in yourself. Does it seem easier to wish yourself joy or others? Taking just a few more breaths here. And as you feel comfortable, let's repeat the following intention together. I am joyful. I am joyful. I am joyful.
And when I rise, let me rise like a bird, joyfully. And when I fall, let me fall like a leaf, gracefully, without regret.
when I stand, let me stand like a tree, strong and tall. And when I lie, let me lie like a lake, peacefully, calm and still. And when I work, let me work like a bee, wholeheartedly. And when I play, let me play like a breeze, refreshingly, light and clear. And when I love, let me love like the sun, warm and sweet. Let me live like a soul flowing free.
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel expanded and better aligned. Beautiful. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Joan and Lelena and Jocelyn and Kate. So I want to go back. To what we were talking about before. And I want to note that the opposite of languishing is flourishing. To languish is to disengage. When a car is stuck in neutral, there's no engagement of gears, no transfer of power from drive shaft to wheels, no movement. You're just not going anywhere. To flourish, on the other hand, would be something like waking up early, straining some recycled oil that you collected from a neighborhood restaurant and use it to oil all of the moving parts on your vehicle. And then maybe trace a flower in the wet morning dew on the fenders, and then go over and pick up your most eccentric friend so that the two of you can drive around pretending to be space aliens on a tour of the earth. Being stuck in neutral is blah. Being creative and imaginative and open to new adventure is wee. Flourishing is about wee. It's about joy. But when you're stuck in neutral, it's daunting to even imagine how you're going to get to wee. It's hard sometimes to even remember why you might want to. So, just as we did in the meditation that we just experienced, we start close in. We start where we are. We begin by noticing and naming how we're feeling. Laurie Santos teaches psychology at Yale, and she says that we can ask ourselves some very simple questions to find out how we're really doing. Do you wake up ready to start your day, or would you rather go back to sleep? How often do you press that snooze button? Do you have a sense of purpose, or do you find how you spend much of your day to be meaningless? Purposeful, meaningless. She says, you're kind of the expert on your own sense of flourishing. Simply asking yourself these easy questions and noticing your answers can help you figure out what's going on. It helps you begin to think about what you might do differently. Another simple thing that can have a big impact is just slowing down to savor the small things that are beautiful and also the tiny successes and accomplishments that you might otherwise overlook. Several years ago, my husband and I happened to be at the beach, and we were out at sunrise on a fall day when sea turtles were hatching out of their nests in the sand. There weren't many people on the beach, but all who were there stopped walking to cheer those little turtles on, because how could you not? Their odds were not good, and most of their lives would be very brief. So to stop and celebrate the distance that they'd covered, to feel hopeful about the potential of every little turtle for however long that moment lasted, was beautiful and good and joyful, and so unexpected. Gratitude practices can do remarkable things too. You can simply recount the good things for which you're grateful, either at the end of your day or once a week with a family over a dinner on a particular night, regularly each week. Or you can do this while waiting for a regular appointment that you have. Or you can make a brief bullet list in a notebook at a time of day when your mind and your heart are naturally flowing. Showing a little kindness to others can also be a powerful way to help you turn toward flourishing. You don't have to do something large and heroic. Just hold the door for someone, or make eye contact and say good morning to the people that you encounter as you move through your day. These simple things can fill you with a sense of meaningful connection and well-being. Sending a friend a link to an article or introducing two people that you know who have something in common will do that too. And to take it a step farther, researchers have found that people who regularly volunteer for 2 or more hours a week, they actually experience higher levels of optimism, happiness, and a sense of purpose than those who don't volunteer. Flourishing also comes from trying new things, like a new book group or finding a new walking trail. This brings you into new contact with new people and ideas and possibilities about how to move through the world. It helps you open your mind to new possibilities, which increases your chances of flourishing. Conversely, finding new perspectives as you go about the same old tasks can help you shift from weariness to flourishing. There's an old story about a bishop who came to inspect the work going on a new church. He watched a stonemason skillfully chipping away at a big block of granite. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I'm building an arch." And he watched a woodworker who was seriously contemplating their chisel in a block of wood. "What are you doing?" "I'm carving a statue." And then he came to one who was not a skilled craftsperson, who had the hard job of moving bricks from one place to another. And yet this person's head was up, shoulders back, and there was a twinkle in his eye, even as he wiped away his sweat. The bishop was struck by his sense of well-being despite his heavy labor. "What are you doing that has you in such a good mood?" And the man looked up, and he looked around, and he said, "I'm building a cathedral." Our perspective is everything. When we look around, we begin to notice the different ways that we can understand our lives. Are we hauling bricks pointlessly from place to place? Is it dreary? Or are we building a cathedral? Are we engaged in some glorious endeavor? Are we doing something small and difficult that really doesn't matter that much? Or are we really part of a bigger story? We have choices about the meaning that we make of it all. Unitarian Universalists are on a search for truth and meaning. All of our lives, we're engaged in this search. But we do not have to trek through Tibet to do this. We have multiple opportunities every day, just as we go about our daily lives. Community and connection are important in this too. You can have fleeting but meaningful conversations with complete strangers in public places that leave you feeling lifted up. In the library, at the bakery, someone else waiting in line, somebody who's wondering about widgets with you at the hardware store. So imagine then what kind of benefit you might get from actually being with others in actual relationships in an ongoing community. Like, I don't know, just taking a guess, maybe like a congregation, for instance. There's a thought. When I am weary of life on Zoom, and I do get weary of life on Zoom, when I cannot take one more encounter on the small screen, I have learned to get up and stretch regularly and focus outward on my yard and my neighborhood, and then to zoom outward into my life with regular calls to family and friends. At other times, I'm beginning to imagine sometimes I start to imagine that we're all on something like a spaceship, like on Battlestar Galactica. We've all just barely escaped a disaster that destroyed the Earth, and Zoom is our lifeline to each other. And instead of this cruel, achingly awful restriction, it suddenly becomes this portal, this lifeline to making and doing new things together. It becomes a portal to survival. And beyond survival, to just finding a new life again. So I think it's essential to mix this up. It's harmful to sit endlessly in front of your screen, but a screen can also be a portal that helps you connect with amazing truths and amazing experiences in other people as well. The Earth Justice folks are offering a discussion this afternoon about a movie about an amazing phenomenon of how mycelial networks work. The gigantic networks created underground by fungi that act as a kind of brain for whole bioregions in a communication network. You might feel meh about a lot of things, but it's really hard to feel meh when you've been drawn into the story of mycelial networks. It's really hard to feel meh once you've been drawn into any story. And stories are as close as walking around and taking in your surroundings with all of your senses. Take time to really look at the structure of one common non-toxic plant that you pass by every day. What colors do you see? Is there a scent? And where does that scent hit your senses in your nose? Up high or at the back of your throat? What do the leaves feel like? And what animals can you hear nearby? What's the story that this plant is in the middle of? And what's the story that you're in the middle of? If you're feeling meh, it's probably a bigger story than you've been letting yourself experience. It's so easy to forget that we're part of a bigger story, a miraculous story of life. But we are. We are connected in mystery and miracle through our bodies and all of our senses. The story of the stars, the story of the universe is our story. The story of all life on earth is our story. And we are connected through our joy. I invite you to join me in this spoken meditation and prayer by Robbie Walsh. He says, when the great plates slip and the earth shivers and the flaw is seen to lie in what you trusted most, look not to more solidity, to weighty slabs of concrete poured or strength of cantilevered beam to save the fractured order. Trust more the tensile strands of love that bend and stretch to hold you in the web of life that's often torn, but always healing. The shifting plates, the rest of earth, your room, your precious life, they all proceed from love, the ground we travel together. Let's join our hearts in a moment of silence. This morning we hold in our hearts the Gaskin and Zula family after the loss of Emma Hubert, who lived an independent life and died last week of natural causes at the age of 98. This morning we hold in our hearts all who mourn, all who are sad, all who are weary and in need of rest, and also all who rejoice because of life's blessings. May it ever be so. Blessed be. Amen. When we gather together every week, part of our intention is always to give of ourselves. And we do this in so many ways. We give of our time, we give of our talent, we give our attention to one another, to places in the world. And sometimes we also give our treasure, our money. At this time, you can think about what it is that you give in different areas of your life, what you would like to give of yourself. And if you feel that you'd like to give a contribution that's financial, you can find a link to that on our, in the chat box to a secure portal on our webpage. We'll contemplate this while we listen to the offertory. When we turn, we will come round right, we will survive, and so many other phrases that I heard in that beautiful medley. We give thanks for all that helps us and holds us, that connects us with one another, that reminds us that we too are an integral part of the larger life of the universe that swirls around us and through us and within us and among us always. We give thanks for this wholeness, which is holiness. Our closing words, our benediction, come from Sophia Betancourt, who was one of the co-presidents of the UUA when we were in crisis. Sophia writes, "We are on a journey toward redemption. We have lived a year filled with lamentation, with the strength of generations, the failures of every day, and the deep down, gritty messiness that is the promise of our shared salvation. This is the inherent goodness that exists between us and among us. I want to honor the ragged, weary miracle that is our living tradition." When we remember that all of this is true, how can we keep from singing? Go in love, go in peace, go singing.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars, I know the truth that liveth. What though the darkness round me grows, some in the light it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost drum, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near,